Diplomatic Institute. Hopefully you had a very good stay in Bucharest until now. You didn't lose yourself. I'm still seeing you, seeing that you are all, so nobody was lost in the historical center from Friday to Monday. If not, I have some friends so I can call to find if there is someone from Berlin lost in space. No, we know, because you'll see we have a certain experience in managing foreign students at the institute. So yeah, that's always the problem. The first encounter with the historical center, the old Bucharest center, but we manage. Welcome. Hopefully, your meeting with the political director, Ambassador Maghiero, and with Ms. Mirela Grecu went okay last Friday. We talked a lot. So, Romanian Diplomatic Institute. What is the Romanian Diplomatic Institute? The Romanian Diplomatic Institute is the training and research facility of the Romanian MFA. We used to be a grand institution. No, joking. Due to the new fashion in European government, which is austerity, we became rather smaller institution. We were founded 10 years ago after a lot of trial and error by the MFA of how to manage training mostly and research, and the ministry tried old solution, in-house, outside, outsourcing, etc., etc. The institute was formed as I said, it's training and research formed as such in order to have the synergy between reflection, expertise, providing expertise, long-term expertise to the ministry, teaching, having both academia and practitioners in the same institution, in order to have, both young minds and younger minds, but older bodies. The governance. Okay, that's photo of me, of course. It was not. I was not the guy who made the presentation. So, the institute is chaired by the Romanian Minister of Foreign Affairs. It's one of his, like the old emperors. They are king of or whatever, but they are also barons. The executive management is done by the RDI board, which is chaired by the Director General. It has inside the Director for Research and Expertise, the Director for Training are also members of the board, and that's more or less the structure. And also, of course, there is the administrative accountant staff. The international network was the institute. That's more or less what was until 1st of January. We still have to put we'll have discussions with our colleagues in Rabat, our colleagues in Tehran, and I think the GCC Research Institute, Qatar, and EIU, Abu Dhabi. It's pretty much a good network, which provides us not only with a lot of paper to be signed, but also with both expertise and a network of possible intervenants, either in writing for our publications or as speakers. Missions, expertise and consultancy, debates, training and internship, and institutional memory. The third part of our mission, which is stated by a government decree, is also we are responsible for editing the Romanian historical diplomatic archive. It's an important thing. Normally, it does not only interest historians. it's also a very good tool to remind yourself that you are not the inventor of the Romanian diplomacy. In fact, Romanian MFA has a history of 154 years as Romanian MFA, preceded by a history of at least 40 years before as ministries of foreign affairs of the principalities that formed Romania, and with a history of diplomacy going way back to the 16th century. We have one of the first permanent diplomatic postings in Europe, because we had our, put the brackets, hostages around the Sublime Port in Constantinople. So you had, there were either sons, either cousins of the Romanian princes who stayed there for 20 something years. They became, some of them, professional diplomats. One of them is, we gave the name of our greatest hall. Unfortunately, we have another course there, it's an ethic course for diplomats, and they were over, I had to balance the numbers, there were more than you numbers. It's Dimitri Cantemir. Dimitri Cantemir was a member of the Royal Academy in Berlin. He was also the author of the first European critique of the Quran. He was also the first collector of Safavid music from Iran. He also is the author, in fact, of the system of notating and structuring Turkish music. And he's also a Turkish composer. He was, but he was, as I said, also a friend of Leibniz. And he finished as probably Tsar Peter the Great, first intelligence agent for the whole Middle East and Oriental affairs, kind of Mr. Primakov avant la lettre, because he was reading, writing, and speaking all the languages from this continent, from Afghanistan to Spain. So there is a history of Romanian diplomacy, and that's why we try to remember our younger colleagues that no, that not starts with them. Regional cooperation is an invention of the person who's the patron of this small hall, Taki Ionescu. In fact, imagine the system when he was not Minister of Foreign Affairs. But I'm not going into that. That's a little bit of what we... so, expertise and consultancy. We're providing expertise and consultancy in different reports, either public or non-public, to the Romanian MFA at the request of the ministry or we think that a certain point can be of interest for the ministry, as we, for example, made a quite strong, a big paper on political Islam, or things like that. As I said, we're not too many, so also we are organizing conferences, workshops, and seminars on different topics, either at the request of the ministry, either at our request, putting together expertise from civil society, academia, either other think tanks, and the ministry together. We have our series in foreign policy and ER. So, and then now it's policy alerts. These are small, one page and a half, 2 pages reaction in English on various hot topics, normally 2, 3, 4, 5 days after an event. Now we have then it comes the policy brief, which is rather an in-depth analysis of an event. It's not about, bigger things. These are in Romanian. Then the policy papers are analyses and evaluations of more or less topics or larger events. Political crisis in Moldova between December 2012 and May 2013. So 6 months. It's a document that normally has 30 to 50 pages. And then you have the policy studies, which are in-depth, big 80 to 100 pages studies. It's a study, it's normally a group project, and we normally, what we do is we try to, you'll see that because we have internships. Normally an internship will be finalized by this kind of paper done by the interns under the supervision and the coordination of one of our researchers. Debates. As I said, we're a place of synergy, we're a place of debate. We try to do the interface between the MFA, the professional community of diplomats, and the professional community of researchers, think tankers, etc. So what we have, aside discussions which are non-public, we have the Chatham House rules talks, which is, you know what the Chatham House rules are? You can quote the discussion, but you never quote the person. So it's non-attributable. It's a very good format to have discussions, mostly between people from practitioners. We have here the actual Minister of Foreign Affairs when he was presidential advisor, but there are also journalists, other people. So what you have, it's a two-way process, because you also, as a practitioner, you are facing the questions from outside your professional sphere, and also you see what people are thinking about an event outside. You know, most diplomatic profession is a very small number profession, and it tends to be from time to time walled in its own logic. And then you have the journalists, and just also for the journalists to see in fact what is beyond an official declaration, which normally in good moments of transparency, a declaration by a Ministry of Foreign Affairs will be translucent in the best moment of transparency. Normally it's quite a, you know, if you know the language, then you can translate it in normal people words. Here is a discussion with the former IDF, former Leibovich, former IDF, she's now retired, IDF spokesperson. We have General De Gerato, who was used, for example, used to be our head of defense. Open conferences and seminars. We had one this morning about climate change, which was run by the Moroccan head of delegation in COP22. We had 8 ambassadors, other people, NGOs, students, etc. That's an event that we had with Deputy Minister Ionica, who is our future ambassador to Chisinau, with Mark Taplin, who is not only, he used to be U.S. Chargé d'Affaires, but he visited Romania with his father, who used to be a diplomat in Romania in the 50s and 60s, right? So it was about our 135 years of diplomatic relations between the U.S. and Romania. That's another discussion with Professor Christopher Lane, who's he's not cultural diplomacy, he's the other part. Security studies, he's one of the most renowned realists in the US. Cybersecurity, I love it because he was a great guy from New Zealand. Yeah, that's the thing with cybersecurity, you're discussing it, it's with people from the other other side of the world. Assistant Defense Secretary, State Secretary, Secretary of State for Arms Control, Frank Rose. Training and internship. So we have two kinds of training courses. One is for the MFA personnel, including basic training, which we finalized last week, the first part. Young diplomats, So if you want to be a diplomat in Romania, first you have to pass the entrance exam in the MFA, and then you are welcomed in the institute and you are trained. And also for other levels of diplomats and non-diplomatic personnel from MFA, documents, we've done protocol, document security, ethics, that's our 5th course in ethics for diplomats and non-diplomats, and we have also courses for other civil servants and interested private parties that I will have to speak, unfortunately, for 3 hours and a half at 5:30. So that's young diplomats. Then that's our foreign policy and diplomacy program for non-diplomats, 6 months. It's a postgraduate certificate. Shorter courses. We're opening one now in 2 weeks about international security, different area studies, crisis management, diplomatic protocol. Also, as we are more than, I think we are more than 7,000 persons were trained in the last 10 years by the institute. Yeah, small, but we are doing also. We're doing we're one of the major operators of ODA funds, so official development assistance. We are doing quite a lot of trainings for foreign diplomats. We've done, and hopefully we'll do it when the security situation will permit, go back with our team normally once a year in Ramallah for young Palestinian diplomats. We have also the 4th edition, I think, of, it will be in September, for young diplomats from the MENA countries, transitional countries in the Middle East and North Africa. It's mainly Tunisia, Egypt, Palestine, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And also, we are functioning more or less in the last 7 years as also training facility for the Moldavian MFA as part of our assistance to Moldavia. It's very simple because we share a common language. So you don't have to find people, okay, now we need the guy, someone who speaks English, French, or Arabic. That's truly yours in Ramallah. So also we're doing the institutional memory. We're bringing, or we brought now today, the 2 volumes dedicated to 1937. It's year by year. Also we have other publication. That's a publication of Romanian POWs in Soviet Union. It's a part of our history. And unfortunately, the last one came in 1956 in Romania. So it was a double. I had a chance just to finalize as Director General the project. It was opened by my predecessors. And it's also diplomatic opening because for the first time Russia admitted a non-Russian institution to get into the military and KGB archives about POWs. We have also the diplomatic library collection. It's various topics, books authored either by our colleagues, that's by my colleague Dr. Laura Sitaru, who is also professor of Arabic Studies in the University of Bucharest. But we've done also others. Thank you very much. I think I've done it in 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you.
Please, I worked for 23 years in the university and you never get applauses. From time to time you get boos, but that's... So now, question and answers.
I have a question, please. Thank you. I would like to ask you, what do you think, what is the most important for the young future diplomats? What type of skills they should try to develop in themselves?
Well, let me give you the answer that a probably former Director General for Human Resources in the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs gave it to me when I asked that. He told me one thing: the 6-day work can be learned in 2 days. The 6-day work can be learned in 2 days. You don't need people who know things, but people who know how to learn things. You need a certain amount of knowledge, but I'll be very frank, and I didn't want to get Friday in a discussion with my former colleague here, Daniela Zaharia. She used to be a director of training, Professor Zaharia from the university. No, I don't think that university is in itself the place where you can learn something in order to think about diplomacy. And I'll tell you why. First of all, it's not a science. Diplomacy is not a science, is an art, in the sense not of both belle arte, big culture, but it's a set of technical skills. It's about being a proud artisan. Benvenuto Cellini was an artisan. He never said that he was an artist. It's a set of technicality. If you want to be very good, you need a certain mindset. That's another thing. University is the place for science. When I used to be a not very disciplined researcher in this institute, in fact my office was there, I used to argue with my predecessor and my friend that you met also last Friday, Professor Nister. If you don't want me to do a thing on, I don't know, Iranian nuclear policy, I go back to my studies about the cognitive dissonance in the perception of conflicts in contemporary ER. I used to be a professor of ER theory. So. Yeah, I mean, that's one it's what we need in this part of job is try to see if the Iranians mean business when they say we'll build a bomb. And the other one is about how things are, as Thomas Aquinas was saying, it's an intellective, you can understand by the power of your mind. It was about God. It's how the things are, I would say, in a science way. That's why there is a debate about ER, if it's a science or not, field of knowledge, field of study, etc., etc., etc. So going back, and probably Ambassador Matake knows better because she used to, she used to run. She hopefully will run people again. She's a practitioner. I'm not. I'm a guy from time, a dilettante. I'm not in the bad, really bad category, those who can't teach, but try to do it from time to time. But no, for me, flexibility in your mind, creativity, adaptability, a certain sense of adventure. You know, being 4 years, I don't know where, in a new country, no friends, being social. For various reasons, not only, because you need to be social in diplomacy, but your life is cut in 4 years or 3 years terms. You have friends for 3 years. So you need to be ready to take risks. Personal risks, physical risks from time to time, etc. Nobody says that diplomacy is done only in, well, not even in Paris. It's safe now, but you know, asking my former colleagues who were running our Libyan our mission in Tripoli or in Damascus, or were managing evacuations in different, that's, you know, and also a great sense of discipline. Yeah. From time to time saying that is the most military civil administration. And no, it's very much, because it's about, I'm very sorry, because it's about, not always, well, 99% it's not, but in 1% diplomatic service is about, not only treasure but blood. It's about, putting people into the harm's way. 2 days ago we lost 2 soldiers, Romanian soldiers in Afghanistan. They were training Afghan military and they were killed by a terrorist. When you go into an international Friends of Afghanistan Donors Conference and you said, well, we pledged another year of training mission, you have to understand that, you put people on in the harm's way. No, it looks statistics, it's look whatever. But when you're speaking about money, money is simple, you can make other. But life of people, so you have to be responsible, you have to be disciplined, you don't have too much ideas when it's about people's life. And believe me, it's not an easy discussion, and it's not an easy state of mind. And if you have from time to time President Constantinescu, ask him, because he had to take not very easy decisions, and he had to take it 3 months. The first ones were when Albania imploded in 1997. He was in office for 3 months, and he used to be an extraordinary professor of mineralogy and president of the University of Bucharest. Normally, when you are deciding something like president of the University of Bucharest, it's about another field of study, but it's not, sending a battalion or whatever. So you have to learn to think with that. Oh, my 2 cents. Yeah. No, it was just okay. Music, please.
We have a few.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. My name is Catherine and I'm from Nigeria. I noticed in your presentation you spoke about some parts of Africa, mostly the northern part. So I wanted to ask maybe if you have...
No problem. Yeah.
If you have any maybe interest or...
No, interest we have.
Other parts
I'll be very frank, it's as we are only operators and not deciders on Romanian ODA. Romanian ODA, it's at its very beginning. And we still have to sort out the institutional form. So now it's a small unit in the MFA who runs a small budget, because the vast majority of the budget is with the Minister of Finance. So what we have is what we call a priority list. It's not done by me, and yes, I can assume it because I used to run ODA for some time. So yeah, I can assume it. I try to change it, but it's you can't do anything. Yes, there is. We have an interest in Africa. It's a problem of money. It's very simple. If you can spend money on North Africa, and you can understand. Okay, Romania is not. We had and we still have quite a large network, not in Nigeria, but in other countries, of former Romanians, former students in Romanian universities. There are probably around 55,000 persons in the whole developing world. There are from Cote d'Ivoire, Central African Republic, well, Now it's not going very well there, etc. So yeah, there is, but you have to have not only the threat, intentions plus means. We have the intention, we don't have the means. We had both your ambassador, Nigerian ambassador, 3 hours ago here, and the South African ambassador. So yeah, but it's it's about what is on the table. Yeah.
My question was in regards to multinational, multicultural Romanians and whether they're interested in serving abroad, and whether the institute here or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs developed a system where you have Romanians that speak, say, Japanese are sent to Japan. Do you encourage
Yeah.
training into languages or
Yeah.
backgrounds?
So when you are going into the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, having a unnormal or whatever no French and English language, it's quite more in the number of points that you have. I'll be very frank. It's one of our younger colleagues who's working with us. She's a junior researcher. She's also a TA with Arabic section in the university. She now wants to go into the MFA. Good luck. My very good friend, colleague, collaborator of mine. He's an Arabist. Now he's in Georgetown in the US, but he is still officially a diplomat. He was working. I mean, it's you need them. We probably don't know very well how to take them into the ministry as quick as possible. It's also about the legality of the process. As a public administration, you can't go and offer a contract to someone.
Right, but does the people that do join, say if they're fully Romanian,
Yeah.
do they get trained
Yeah.
prior to going to certain countries?
Yeah.
Culture,
Yeah.
language?
Yeah, normally we stopped at the request of the ministry, not our. We used to have, because that's why we don't have it, we used to run also linguistic training. But they said we need to remake a little bit not our priorities, but now there are people say, okay, I want to speak Chinese. There was an investment because it's not very cheap. 3 years, and then they said to the personal management office in the MFA, now I want to go to Paris. And when I'm investing in teaching you Chinese, you probably think that they will go either to Beijing, to the embassy, either to our consulate generals in Shanghai or in Hong Kong. Mostly if you want to go Hong Kong, you have to do also Cantonese, which is quite different from Mandarin, but that's another thing. Or at least in Singapore, but I mean,
So you no longer hold
no, we will probably going back from this fall. But we're doing Arabic, Chinese, Russian, Portuguese, Hebrew, and Turkish language courses. There is also, anyone can go to the Department of Foreign Languages. They have a specialized department for professionals. There's also, if you want to do it. But we must, in the diplomatic service, you encourage people to learn as many languages as they can. That's not always the best. I'll be very frank, we don't meet the requirements of very young, very bright, very multicultural Romanians, because it's a bureaucratic career. You don't have too many fast tracks. We have some, but not always. The pay is not very great. Long working hours. From time to time, demanding bosses. If they are too demanding, they're back in the institute. They are, things like that. I mean, it's not always very easy to cope the expectations of a very young, very international person to the rigors of a bureaucracy. It's not only for us, it's for the Bundesamt, it's the Foreign Office. We all have this problem. How to recruit the best of the best, because that's foreign service. The foreign service, and I'm not saying it's also a pressure, is in the foreign service, normally you have the best of the civil service. And they are constantly headhunted, etc., etc., etc. Who do you find who has a good Rolodex in Amman, Tehran, and New Delhi? Or whatever, Helsinki. I know that someone from Riyadh. We have a very good cooperation with the Saudi Diplomatic Institute. For example, my friend Adel Rahman Al-Arasi, who's former ambassador to Bucharest, now he's in Moscow. He would kill for having people, knowing Russia, Irkutsk, or Vladivostok, or a Saudi company. It's very simple. So yeah, we encourage. Do we manage? Not always, but it happens. Then as I said, we have to keep them.
Yeah, my name is Saud Al-Saud. I'm from Saudi Arabia. I remember in your previous speech you mentioned that diplomacy is not about building peace,
No.
It's about national interest.
Yeah.
But at least you try to balance between, building peace and, advocating your national interest in this institute.
One of the best things that you have as a diplomat is called your mandate. It's your political instructions. There is a difference between, when you are a civil servant, you do, in a certain sense, it's also unburdens you with taking the big decisions. The big decisions are about politicians, because they are responsible in front of the public. That's why I said the mandate is one of your greatest tools. It's not up to you to decide about war and peace. You advise. You give your best advice and you give your best effort to say that's, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, the best solution, the medium solution, and the worst solution. But diplomacy as ER does not have what I call a normative function. The normative function of creating norms, habits, values, etc. It's about those who take decision makers. That's what, from time to time, it's the inner tension of diplomats, is that they're doing from time to time things that are, I would say, totally opposed to their ethos. As a diplomat, you are the first to talk with the enemy. And that's in your job description. I remember Douglas Hurd saying that a handshake is not an absolution. When they were discussing about him, he was foreign secretary, about shaking hands with Milosevic. And he said, well, that's our job, and the handshake is not an absolution. You have to discuss. There is someone who has to start the discussion. So that's why I said you are a pursuer of national interests. That's your job, is to defend, to maintain, or to develop your national interests. There are others who are doing world peace. And as I said, it's a joke, but it's more or less the girls in Miss Universe. And I want world peace. It's about others. Yes, as a diplomat, for example, you can say, in order to tackle the problem of terrorism, we need an international court of justice in order to address terrorist offenses. That was the project of a former Minister of Foreign Affairs. He's a professor of law. He's a diplomat. But I don't know if he was not the Minister of Foreign Affairs, he would have put it like as a personal project or as a recommendation, the internationalization of prosecuting terrorists. Probably he would have done like that, a report of us, he has a solution that. Now, that's the difference between, when you are a diplomat, you're searching the solution, but you don't have the initiative. You are part of the toolbox for leadership. You are not part of the grand plan. You're just a hammer. If you want, you are. If you don't want, you don't. You are not bound. You are not an indentured servant who is bound to serve. It's a rational choice that you have to do it. Yeah, in the actual international context, which is more or less extremely cooperative, even if there are some speaking about the end of cooperation with Russia, with others. Yeah, you can do, you can think at word peace. As, because no one says, I want to reshuffle the balance of power. What we know from history is that if you want to reshuffle the balance of powers, either world order or whatever, you need it normally to do it via violent means. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for your presentation and for your answers. My name is Maria Virginia and I'm from Romania.
Yeah.
I'm a student of ICT, and I wanted to ask if it's possible to give us more details about what application process requires for young students like us that want to work.
You want to come to a training, to an internship, or what? Because we don't take. It's very simple. www.idere.ro. Our, not ICD. So, our website. You have all the information. So, normally you need, in order to come to one of our courses, to be an university graduate. So, at least a BA. To have a relevant CV and to have a relevant intention and or a recommendation. That will cost you. I'll be very frank, because we can't do it for free. And that's very simple. The international security course is still open until 20th of May, I think. So it's done via internet, at least one. The only thing that you have to sign is the contract. For the rest, you can be, but you need to be here in Bucharest. We don't do, for non-diplomats, we don't do distance learning or non-presential mocks and other things.
Thank you.
That's, if you want to do an internship, same website, internships.
Yeah, I saw that you have an internship.
Yeah, we have it normally it's once in the spring and once in the fall. So, letter of intent, which tend to do it more or less focused, but I think internship at idere.ro. It's pretty much transparent. It's, as I said, it's minimal paper. If there were not sometimes some councils, judicial councils in this institute to write papers, I would have done it electronically, everything. But no, that's very simple. That's no. Ok. Unde vă duceți?
Trebuie să ajungem la fundația domnului președinte
Ah.
Constantin și apoi la cenă.
Acolo duceți-vă. Transmiteți doamnelor și Alina și Adina toate cele bune. Vă vedeți cu domnul președinte?
Probabil.
Nu știu.
Nu știu.
Nu se știe. Trebuie să coborâți tot. Ok, thank you very much. Thank you.